Okay, so good afternoon, students. So, in this week, we will have chapter 4. It's about the ethical and social issues in the information system. For the study case, we will look into smartphone. I believe that all of you have smartphones and how the privacy is a very concern here. So, the title of the study case is Your Smartphone's Big Brother's Best Friend. In this chapter, we will learn more about the ethical, social, and political issues raised by the information system, and then the specific principles for conduct can be used to guide the ethical decisions. And you will also know why the contemporary information system technology and the internet pose challenges to the protection of the individual privacy and the intellectual property. And finally, the information system which related to the laws and establishing the accountability and liability for the quality of the everyday life will be also learned in this chapter. Now let's move on to the study case, which is about smartphone. And as usual, I give you a link of YouTube and you need to watch what is it about. So it's about your smartphone. So companies worldwide, uh, they s- they do a tracking. They do a tracking for the precise locations of millions people through the mobile phone, storing this data in vast repositories. While the tech giants like Google and Facebook, they primarily use this data internally. Meanwhile, for the smaller company, also collect it and often without the users' full awareness. Despite its utility in the mapping, payment, and analyzing social behavior like social distancing during the pandemic, the location data are frequently used for targeted advertisement with minimal legal constraints on their sales or distribution. Users, most of them unknowingly consent to this tracking through the dense term of service agreements when they download an apps, which leads to the widespread data sharing and potentially misused. So the privacy policy is typically complex and inaccessible, which offer little protection and allowing the companies to freely buy, sell, and manipulate the location data. Despite claims of anonymity, such data can still identify individuals. With lacks of regulation, the smaller companies can easily access location sensors and integrate tracking capabilities into various apps using software development kits. For instance, like a high iHeart radios used location data for targeted advertising underscore the need for the clearer disclosures and stronger regulation to protect the user privacy. So, the case study highlights the dual nature of technology, particularly mobile phone location tracking, which offers the benefits like access to maps and local information, but also it raises significant privacy concern. The advancements in data management and mobile communications enable the organizations to track individuals' location using this data for marketing and other purposes. However, this practice actually can infringe on the privacy rights, which is lead to a potentially leading to a discrimination or other harms. So the ethical dilemma underscores the need for the managers to navigate the balance between the organizational interest and individual privacy concern, which emphasizing the importance of ethical decision making in leveraging information system responsibly. So, in the past 2 decades, businesses have faced numerous ethical challenges, as evidenced by a range of cases across different industries. With the global legal environment becoming increasingly stringent, managers who break the law are likely to face imprisonment due to the international treaties and cooperation facilitated by the global information systems. Therefore, the ethical decision making in this context involves considering principles of right and wrong, especially as information systems which create a new opportunities and threats, which is impacting the power dynamics and societal norms. So, ethical, social, and political issues are intertwined with managerial dilemmas, often reflecting broader societal debates. In this figure 4.1 depicts the society as a compound disrupted by the introduction of new information technology, causing ripples analogs to the impact of the information system on established norms. While the social institutions and laws provide guidelines for behavior, the rapid evolution of technology creates a situation outside where the traditional frameworks. It takes time for norms, social responsibility, and laws to adapt, leaving the individual to navigate legal gray areas. And this model highlights the interconnected of the ethical, social, and political dimension in addressing the challenge of the information society, emphasizing the need for nuanced response across the individuals, social, and political levels. The advent of a novel information technology initiates a ripple effect, giving rise to the fresh ethical, social, and political concerns that actually necessary for addressing the individual, society, and the government hires. These issues have 5 moral dimensions, which is called the first one information rights and obligations, and then property rights and obligations, system quality, quality of life, and accountability and control. We will learn about this one by one. So, the major ethical, social, and political issues raised by the information system encompass a range of moral dimensions. These include considerations such as information rights and obligations, questioning the extent of rights held by the individuals and organizations regarding their own information, and what measures can be taken to uphold these rights. Furthermore, the discussion extends to the property rights and obligations, particularly concerning the protection of traditional intellectual property rights in a digital age where tracking ownership is complex and disregarding such rights is prevalent. Accountability and control are also paramount as the inquiry delves into who can be held responsible for any harm inflicted upon individuals and collective information and property rights. Moreover, discussions revolve around the establishment of standards for system quality. The system quality aiming to safeguard the individual rights and ensure the societal safety. Lastly, there is contemplation about the preservation of social values in information driven society, pondering which values should be upheld, which institutions requires protection from infringement, and how new information technology aligns with existing cultural values and practices. The proliferation of information technology has significantly impacted ethical concerns, leading to increased dependence on systems and heightened vulnerability to errors and data quality issues. The advance in data storage and analysis have facilitated the routine violation of individual privacy, which enable the organizations to gather highly detailed personal information. So the companies can now compile the digital dossier of individuals by combining data from various sources, a practice known as profiling to target the marketing campaigns effectively. So the technologies like NORA, it stands for Non-Obvious Relationship Awareness. It enhanced the profiling capabilities by correlating disparate data to identify potential threats, raising privacy implications, and data brokers thrive on demand for the personal information, selling dossier to businesses and government agencies. Moreover, the credit card networks are also exploring the integrations of purchase information with the customer profiles for advertising purposes. These technological trends underscore the need for a robust ethical framework and the legal protection to safeguard the individual privacy in the digital age. So, this is the NORA, Non Obvious Relationship Awareness, a data analysis technology called NORA has given both the government and the private sector even more powerful profiling capabilities. Nora can take information about people from many disparate sources, such as employment applications and then telephone records, customer listings, unwanted list, and correlate relationship to find the obscure connections that might help identify criminals or terrorists. As you can see in the picture of 4.2. So the neural technology scans data and extract the information as the data are being generated so that it could, for example, instantly discover a man at an airline ticket counter who shares a phone number with a known terrorist before that person boards an airplane. So the technology is considered a valuable tool for homeland security, but does have privacy implications because it can provide such a detailed picture of the activities and associate of a single individual. And the NORA technology has the capability to extract the information about individuals from various unrelated sources and uncover the hidden connections that may not be immediately apparent. For instance, it could identify that a job applicant seeking employment at the casino shares a phone number with a known criminal, prompting an alert to be sent to the hiring manager. So, ethic is something people worry about when they have the freedom to choose. It's all about making the right choice when we have different options. We will ask ourselves what's the best thing to do, and then what makes a choice ethical. So here we will learn the basic concept of responsibility, accountability, and liability. Responsibility, accountability, and liability are fundamental concepts in ethical decision making. Responsibility entails accepting the potential cost and obligation for one's choice, while accountability involves mechanism to identify who is responsible for actions within the system and institutions. Liability, extending into legal domains, allow the individuals to seek research for the damage inflicted by the others. These concepts are essential for the ethical analysis in information system management. Information technology have impacts mediated through the social institutions and individuals, emphasizing the responsibility of users and organizations for their consequences. In ethical society, the individuals can seek redress through the laws characterized by the due process, which is ensuring the accountability and fairness. When faced with an ethical dilemma, it's important to follow a structured analysis process. First, clarify the fact of the situation, ensuring the accuracy and agreement among the involved parties. Next, define the conflict or dilemma and identify the underlying values at stake, such as freedom, privacy, or property rights. And then identify all the stakeholders and their interest in the outcome, which will inform the potential solutions. Consider various options available, recognizing that some may better address stakeholders' concerns than the others. And then finally, assess the potential consequences of each option, considering both ethical considerations and practical outcomes in the short and long term. This systematic approach will help in navigating complex ethical situations and arriving at informed and responsible decisions. Right after completing the analysis of ethical dilemma, the decision making process must be guided by the fundamental ethical principles. While the individuals might prioritize these principles differently, several timeless values can inform the ethical judgment. Firstly, the golden rule. The golden rule encourages considering fairness by empathizing with others and imagining oneself in their position. Secondly, Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative emphasized the universality of actions, which is questioning whether they are sustainable if adapted universally. The slippery slope rule warns against the actions with potentially harmful long term consequences, urging the caution even for seemingly minor decisions. Utilitarianism advises choosing actions that maximize the overall benefits, while the risk aversion of principles advocates for minimizing harm and potential cost. Lastly, the ethical no free lunch rule reminds the individuals to recognize the value of others' creation and compensate accordingly. Incorporating these principles into decision making processes help to navigate the ethical dilemmas with the integrity and responsibility. So, professional groups such as the General Council of the Bar for the England and Wales and the for the Computing Machinery, like ACM, they assert specialized rights and responsibilities based on their knowledge and expertise. These groups establish codes of conduct to regulate their professions, which is ensure the competence and ethical behavior. The codes of ethics, like the SCMs, pledge to uphold the societal interest by prioritizing the values such as avoiding harm, respecting property rights, and safeguarding privacy. Through self-regulation and adherence of the ethical standards, the professional association aims to maintain the public trust and, of course, serve the broader community. The advent of information system has introduced new ethical challenge where the conflicted interests often clash. For instance, a company employ voice recognition software to streamline the customer support while monitoring the employees' internet activities to enhance the productivity. These practices highlight competing values with the businesses aiming to boost efficiency and cut the cost, while employees seek job security and, of course, the personal freedoms. The ethical analysis suggests seeking compromise solutions that balance these interests, considering the principles like fairness, universal applicability, and minimizing the harm. Identifying the right, of course, one of the actions required as a careful examination of facts and ethical principles to navigate the complex ethical dilemmas effectively. Okay, so in this section, we will take a closer look at the five moral dimensions of information system first described before in figure 4.1. In each dimension, we'll identify the ethical, social, and political levels of analysis and use the real world examples to illustrate the values involved, the stakeholders, and the options chosen. Okay, so now it's about the privacy and the freedom in the internet age. So, privacy is a fundamental right that protects the individuals from surveillance and interference by the others, which includes the government and organizations, even in the workplace where the digital surveillance is prevalent. The law and regulation in the countries like United States, Canada, and Germany safeguard privacy through the constitutional provisions and statutes like Privacy Act of 1974. These laws are often based on the Fair Information Practices, or we usually short in FIP, a set of principles governing the collection and the use of personal information. The Federal Trade Commission, or short by FTC, has extended FIP principles to address the online privacy concern, emphasizing the privacy by design, transparency, and consumer as consent. Despite ongoing concern and public distrust of online marketers, the significant privacy legislation has been lacking in recent years. However, the privacy protections have been integrated into federal laws regulating the financial services and, of course, the healthcare, such as the Gramm-Leach Act of 1999 and the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of HIPAA of 1996, respectively. The European General Data Protection Regulations, or we call it GDPR, which is implemented in 2018, it's held as a landmark privacy legislation to the FTC's Fair Information Practices Principles. It applies to all the organizations handling personal data of the European citizens, irrespective of their location. Unlike the piecemeal approach in the United States, the GDPR offers comprehensive protection enforced by the data protection agencies across the European countries. It covers a wide range of personally identifiable information and aims to empower the individuals by granting them right to access, to delete, and to port their data. The organizations must adhere to stringent rules, including appointing a data protection officer, obtaining explicit consent for the data collections, and of course, reporting breaches promptly. Non-compliance can result in hefty fines, and the regulation extends its reach globally through the Privacy Shield Agreement. The GDPR primarily targets tech giants like Facebook and Google, now for the extensive data collection practices, and of course aims to harmonize the data protection standards while safeguarding the individual's privacy rights. Similarly, privacy laws have been enacted in over 80 countries worldwide. So, the proliferation of internet technology has raised significant concern related to the individual privacy, with the website utilizing various tracking mechanisms to monitor the user's online activities covertly. The cookies, the small text files stored on the user devices, are widely used to track the browsing behavior and customize website content based on the past interactions. Additionally, the web beacons or tracking files surreptitiously record user click streams and report data to third party firms for targeted advertising. The major players like Google and Microsoft are prominent in this data collection landscape, leveraging behavior targeting to display tailored ads across the web. Despite mounting privacy concern, the United States has largely relied on the opt-out model, which is allowing the businesses to gather and utilize transactions information without explicit consent from the users. While some industry efforts, such as the Network Advertising Initiative or NAI, aim to provide the consumers with the opt-out options, self-regulation often falls short, leaving the consumers vulnerable to privacy breaches. Despite growing awareness, both businesses and consumers exhibit laxity in safeguarding online privacy, with the complex privacy policies further complicating the issue. Now let's see how the cookies identify the web visitors. So when a user accessed a website, the server scrutinizes their web browsers to gather the information like the operating system, browser type, a version, the IP address, and more. Subsequently, the server transmits a tiny text file termed a cookie containing user identification details to be stored on the user's computer hard drive by their web browser. Upon the user's return to the website, the server endeavors to retrieve the information stored in any previously deposited cookie on the user's computer. By reading the cookie, by reading the cookie, bukan it's not a cookie. By reading the cookie, the web server is able to identify the visitor and access the stored data associated with the users. So, various technologies exist to safeguard the user privacy online. It includes the encryption tool for the emails, methods to anonymize browsing activities, and blockers for cookies and spyware. Additionally, the Apple iOS devices offer settings to limit ad tracking. Despite these measures, technical solutions often fall short in preventing user tracking across different websites. Many web browsers offer do not track options, which send the request to websites to refrain from the tracking users' behavior. But complaints is not mandatory. Furthermore, there is no industry consensus of legislation mandating the websites to adhere to this request. The private browser encryption software and mobile apps offer the users some control over their online privacy by keeping their communications secure. So the contemporary information system have posed significant challenges to existing laws and social norms protecting the intellectual property. So intellectual property encompasses tangible and intangible products of the mind and is safeguarded by the various legal traditions, which includes the copyright, patents, trademarks, and trade secrets. The copyright grants creators protection from unauthorized copying of their work. Meanwhile, the patents provide a monopoly of invention ideas for 20 years. Trademarks distinguish products in the market and protect the consumer interest. The trade secret, such as the unique software elements, are safeguarded through the non disclosure agreements. However, each protection method has its limitations, such as copyright, the only safeguarding the expression of ideas, and the patents, potentially stifling competition. Recent legislation, like in the US Defense Trade Secrets Act and the European Union's Trade Secrets Directive, aim to address the challenges in protective trade secrets in the digital age. Contemporary information technologies, particularly software, present a significant challenges to existing intellectual property regulations, which is raising the ethical, social, and political concerns. So the digital media's is of replication, transmission, and alteration, along with the global reach of the internet, has made it difficult to protect the intellectual property. The prevalence of unlicensed software, as reported by the BSA Global Software Survey, underscores the scale of the issue. So, illegal distribution of copyrighted material, exemplified by the file sharing service like Napster, have strengthened the industries like music recording and film production. While the legal actions and legitimate platforms like iTunes and streaming services have mitigated privacy to some extent, the revenue losses and the job cuts persist. The US Digital Millennium Copyright Act and the European Directive on Copyright in the Digital Single Market aim to address these challenges, emphasizing the importance of protecting the creator's right in the digital area. New information technologies are posing challenges to existing liability laws and social norms regarding the accountability. Questions arise regarding who should be held liable in cases where individuals are harmed by the software controlled machines, such as injuries caused by autonomous vehicles. Similarly, the accountability of social network sites like Facebook or Twitter for objectionable user generated content is debated. Should these platforms be treated as common carriers, absolving them of liability, or held responsible for the content posted by users? Additionally, the accountability of cloud service providers in cases of service failure raises concern. The cloud providers often attribute issues to software rather than the server performance, leaving the users with limited resource. These dilemmas highlight the need for updated liability frameworks to address the emerging challenges in the digital age. So, computer related liability problems. The liability issues surrounding computer related incidents, such as data breaches and the software malfunctions, raise the complex questions about accountability. While the traditional liability laws have been hesitant to hold the software producers liable, the landscape is evolving as software plays an increasingly integral role in daily life. Unlike books, the software functionality and reliance by users create higher expectations for the reliability. In cases where the software control machinery or provides the essential services, liability may extend to manufacturers and operators. However, the legal framework remains unclear, particularly regarding the software as a service and the responsibilities of publisher and of course the operators. Comparisons are drawn to regulated common carriers like the telephone system, which are not typically held liable for transmitted messages, and the website, which are generally not liable for the user generated content. As technology continues to advance, liability laws are likely to adapt to address the unique challenges posed by software and digital systems. So in 2018, major cloud providers experienced significant outages, impacting the popular platforms and services like Snapchat, Spotify, and Amazon Alexa. While these outages are infrequent, they raise concerns about the reliability of cloud services as more firms rely on them. The debate over the liability for system values raises questions about acceptable levels of system quality and the responsibility of individuals and organizations to address avoidable consequences. The software companies often release products with known bugs due to the high cost of fixing all errors before the market release. The three main sources of system values are software bugs, and then the hardware values, and poor data quality, with data quality being the most common cause of business system failures. Despite efforts to improve the software quality, achieving the perfections remains a technological challenge, and the industry lacks standardized testing for acceptable performance. The increasing power of information technologies has led to mounting negative social costs, and many of which are not violations of individual rights or property crimes, but still have harmful effect on individuals, societies, and political institutions. While computers and information technologies offer benefits, they also have the potential to destroy the valuable elements of culture and the society. When considering the balance of positive and negative consequences, it raises questions about who should be held responsible for the negative outcomes. Next, we will explore some of the negative social consequences of systems and examine the individual social and political responses to them. So, in 2019, a big tech companies like Amazon, Google, Facebook, and Microsoft dominated various sectors of the digital market, holding the significant economic and political power. Amazon controlled over half of e-commerce retail sales and large portion of book sales, while Google dominated the online search. Facebook, including the Instagram, captured the majority of social network users and online advertising revenue. The Microsoft dominated Office software with its Windows products, and Apple held a large share of the smartphone market. These companies' immense wealth translated into significant political influence as the evidenced by their substantial lobbying efforts in Washington and state capitals, surpassing even those of financial firms. While concentrations of the market power are not new, the critics argue that the big tech firms engage in anti competitive practices that harm the consumer welfare by stifling the innovations and restricting the market access for smaller companies. This has led to calls for regulatory actions, including the breaking up these companies, reminiscent of the antitrust actions taken against the monopolies in the past. So, information systems have accelerated the pace of global markets, leading to reduced response time to competition. This rapid change poses challenges for the businesses, which may struggle to adapt quickly enough and risk being overtaken by the competitors. The rise of on demand service firms like Uber has contributed to the emergence of just in time jobs without the benefits or insurance for the employees. This issue reflecting a broader trend towards a society characterized by the immediate temporary solutions in various aspects of life. The rise of information systems and mobile computing has blurred the traditional boundaries between work, family, and leisure time. So, more people are working during what was traditionally leisure time, extending the work hours into commuting, vacation, and leisure periods. The smartphones and constant connectivity have intensified the feeling of never being away from the work, even during the personal time. Nowadays, businesses, governments, schools, and other organizations heavily rely on the information systems, which make them vulnerable to failures. The absence of regulatory oversight or standards for information system is concerning, especially given their critical role in society. If a nationwide failures were to occur, such as a shutdown of the electric power grid, there are no backup structures in place to mitigate the consequences. The widespread use of information system comparable to the telephone system underscores the need for the potential national standards and regulatory oversight in the future. Now let's see about the computer crime and abuse. So, computer crime and abuse have become significant challenges in the digital age, with new technologies offering perpetrators new opportunities for illegal activities. The computer crime involves the unlawful use of a computer or attacks against the computer systems, ranging from malware or phishing into the denial of service attacks. So, the financial toll of computer crime is estimated to be in the billions of dollars, through the true cost of remains uncertain. On the other hand, a computer abuse encompasses unethical acts involving computers, with spamming emerging as a major concern due to its proliferation and disruptive impact on the individuals and businesses. The rise of spam, often originating from the both networks, incurred a substantial cost for businesses in terms of resources and time required to manage unwanted emails. Moreover, the cyber criminals are increasingly targeting smartphones for identify and financial theft. This is also exploit the user's online activities. While efforts to combat spam include the spam filtering software and legislative measures like the US Canadian Spam Act and regulations in Europe, the global nature of spam network presents challenges to enforcement. The advent of new information technology has led to the re-engineering of business process, resulting in the loss of millions of mid-level factory managers and clerical workers. While this restructuring is often praised for its benefit, Some economists warn that it threatens the middle class, white collar job alongside with the traditional blue collar roles. Eric and Andrew P. McAfee highlight the accelerated pace of automation due to the various technologies, including the robotics and computerized inventory controls, which has enabled the machine to perform tasks previously done by the humans, such as the tech support and legal document review. However, contrasting the views argue that new technologies also create or maintain some jobs, particularly in industries like finance and e commerce. While some displaced workers may transition to better positions in fast growing sectors, concerns remain for unskilled blue collar workers and the older one, less educated middle managers who may struggle to find a suitable alternative employment. The issue of equity and access in the digital age raises questions about whether everyone has equal opportunities and whether technology will narrow or widen existing social, economics, and cultural gaps. While the full impact of information system on various societal groups remains unclear, the studies indicate unequal distribution of resources like information, knowledge, and computers, with disparities along ethnic and social class lines. Despite knowing gaps in computer access, the higher income families still have greater ownership and broadband internet access, and their children are more likely to use it for educational purposes, unlike the lower income counterparts who often engage in entertainment and gaming. This widening time wasting gap could result in the society divided between the information haves and the have nots. The public interest groups advocate for bridging this digital divide by ensuring the widespread access to digital information services, skip the basic telephone services to promote the digital literacy and skills for all. So we move to the next part, which about the health risks. So there are some health risks that related to the impact of the information system. The first one is called a repetitive stress injury, or short by RSI. It's particularly carpal tunnel syndrome, or CTS, from constant keystrokes. It's a prevalent occupation disease affecting up to one third of the labor force, with millions diagnosed. Preventative measures like ergonomic workstation design, proper posture, and rest breaks can reduce the RSI risk. Additionally, poor ergonomic workstation designs contribute to back and neck, leg, and foot pain. The computer vision syndrome, CVS, affecting around 90% of those spending over 3 hours daily at the computer, causes symptoms like headaches, blurred vision, kind of things. Moreover, the concerns arise about the computer potential impacting cognitive functions, with some experts suggesting excessive use may hinder problem solving and the intellectual development. As technology continues to evolve, these health risks and cognitive impacts underscore the complex ethical and social considerations surrounding information technology in the digital age. Now let's summary this chapter. The introduction of information systems bring the forth of myriad of ethical, social, and political issues, particularly in the realms of information rights and obligations, property rights, accountability, system quality, and quality of life. The six ethical principles, including the Golden Rule and the utilitarian principle, serve as guides for the ethical decision making. The challenges to privacy and intellectual property arise from the ease of data collection and analysis enabled by the modern technology as well as the widespread monitoring of the internet activities. Information systems have also reshaped the laws concerning the accountability and liability as well as everyday life, with computer errors causing harm and job displacement, and the socioeconomic disparities being exacerbated by unequal access to technology. Moreover, the computer related issues such as the cybercrime, poor data quality, and health problems like repetitive stress injury and the computer vision syndrome further complicate the ethical landscape surrounding information systems. Okay, that's all of these chapters. If you have any questions, don't forget to send me emails. Okay, I'll see you in the next chapter. Goodbye.